What's happening, guys? Welcome back. I had to race home and give you guys my first thoughts on this A7R4. Since having it in my hands, there's a lot of improvements that are bigger than I thought they would be originally. If you saw my previous video about this camera when the specs were released, I kind of made up in my mind that it wasn't something I was going to buy. Mostly because I really don't need 61 megapixels, and all the other improvements I didn't feel like they would be sufficient enough for me to sell my A7R3s and buy the A7R4s. But honestly, after using it, I'm really excited about it. Everything feels better about it, and just the overall user experience of this camera, I just know is going to be so much better. So I've teed up a shoot for tomorrow with a model. We're going to go to the beach, get some really beautiful photos. I'm going to use the 35mm 1.8 as well. So really happy that I have that. It seems really impressive. It's really sharp, really fast, really small. I really love that. So I'm going to do a separate review on that lens as well. So let's just get into these first impressions. So the first thing I noticed when I picked up the camera was obviously the grip. It's much bigger, feels much deeper, it's much more ergonomic to hold. So I'm really happy they've done that. That was to be expected. Everybody knew the grip was going to be better. The second thing I noticed was the buttons. The buttons just feel clickier and more tactile, just more confidence and inspiring when you press the button. I noticed in my A7R3 and the A7III, not so much the A9, but with the shutter button, they just feel a little bit more spongier. And this one, just the half press is nicer. The on and off button even is nicer. I really like the exposure compensation, how it has the lock and the dial's a little bit smaller. So when it's not locked, it's quite easy to move. I do like the new rear dial. It took a little bit of getting used to, but it feels really high quality. It feels just smooth. It's a little bit hard to describe, but it does feel a lot better than the one on my A7R3. The joystick feels better. It's easier to move the focus point around. And that leads me to another point. The little software tweak they've put in here that makes the focus point red when you're not using it is so much better. One of my biggest complaints with all of my other Sony cameras is having that black or gray focus point. You sometimes lose it and you can't find out where it is, so you have to press the center and go back to it. So having it as a red option is so much better. Really love that. I really like the new battery door. It's just so much nicer. I didn't really like the floppy switch thing they had. So the new battery door, I'm really loving that. It's more weather sealed. Honestly, it's just such a big improvement. The next major thing I noticed was as soon as I held it up to my eye, that viewfinder is so sharp, so bright. I think it's the best one I've ever used on any mirrorless camera, and I've used all of the latest mirrorless cameras that are out. The guys at Sony told me it's the same one in the Panasonic S1 cameras, which makes sense because that thing just blew my mind, and it's at least as good as that from my memory. The LCD screen is a strange one for me because I was expecting it to be the same as the A7R3. From what I can tell in all your comments online, everybody said it's the same as the A7R3, but it does look a little bit better to me. You know, the A7R3 LCD screen isn't terrible. It's definitely better than the A7 Mark III, but this one does feel like it has a little bit of improvement. I'm not sure why, and I'll look into that and comment more on it when I've had them really side by side. I'm going to do a lot of comparisons with focus and usability and have my A7R3 and the R4 side by side to give you guys a really in-depth video on that. So I'll comment more when I have more details about it. But honestly, overall guys, it's just the overall usability of this camera is just much better than I initially thought it would be. The files are about 60 megabytes compressed raw, which isn't too bad. I can deal with that. You know, it is larger than I want, but you know, the files are super impressive from what I can tell so far. I can't process the raw files yet. I am going to upload some JPEGs, some unedited JPEGs, so you guys can just have a play with them yourself. Hopefully they come out with an A7S III finally. We've been waiting so long for that camera. Even if it was 20 megapixels, I'd probably buy that. I have no rumors or no sort of even hints of anything like that. I know a lot of people are waiting for it. I'm sure also most of these things on this new A7R4 will translate to the next A7 IV or the A9 Mark II or whatever. So really exciting to see all this stuff improved. It seems like Sony are really listening with most stuff, not everything. I don't have small RAW in this camera, which really kind of annoys me. I've said it so many times. The whole world has said it so many times. My guy at Sony has emailed their head office many times asking for small RAW. Nothing's been done yet. Hopefully it comes with a software update. I'm sure it will happen eventually. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm sure I'm going to release a few videos this weekend on this and the 35mm 1.8. Watch out for that. I'll see you tonight or tomorrow with the next video.